I'm sorry.
Na bago pumaktak yung kanyang rehimen, or basically at least bumagsak yung kanyang political fortunes, mauna na siya and he goes for exile abroad. So that was one of the options we were seriously looking at, that he stays in China. It looks like there's a suspicion maybe China was the one who leaked to him, that when the Interpol notice came, it was the Chinese counterpart who leaked it to him. That's why he had the forward information. He supposedly was accompanied by his former NICA chief, a number of intelligence people who may have been in contact with China. So we were looking at the option of him being in exile in China for quite some time. But yeah, the other option was he'll come back home defiant, siya yung bida, at sasabihin niya, harapin niya ito. And of course, this is something na dapat unexpected from President Duterte, for whom defiance, no? And being macho and questioning the legitimacy of the international court as a supposedly Western court, yun yung magiging central theme of contention niya, di ba? And I don't know, I mean, we heard that even Harry Roque was in Macau or nearby area, so for all we know, he was getting also legal advice from people who could eventually end up serving as his defense counsel, should this really go all the way to Den Haag or The Hague down the road. But for now, yeah, it's going to be a battle of narratives and drama.
Right.
We saw in January 1 million folks, more than 1 million folks from Iglesia ni Cristo having that so-called peace rally. Alam naman natin lahat that peace rally was a very, let's say, peaceful way or not so subtle way of saying na ayaw nila ma-impeach si Sara Duterte. Now imagine a more dramatic situation kung ma-arrest si Digong, I don't know, handcuffed or something like that and sent over abroad to face potentially lifetime jail or something along those lines. So obviously, this is about organization. Are you able to bring out people to have a show of force, and whether President Duterte is also going to play this card of a victim, next brace
yun nga yung sasabihin ko, baka
so that would be the battle of narratives and of drama also.
And then they can use it. There's a possibility that they can use this para makakuha ng simpatya. So, 'di ba, in your point of view, dapat ba na nangyari to lalo na malapit na yung eleksyon, o dapat sana after election na lang?
Yeah, I mean, ang debate natin with sila Sir Ronald and Nol kahapon. I mean, first of all, I said I won't be surprised if Duterte comes back, and tries to play the drama card. Because if he stays abroad, then lost na siya. He's going to be politically irrelevant. That's a political harikiri. Then what's going to happen with his family, right? They're going to go after his daughter, Sara impeachment, and then Davao, what's going to happen with mayoral race? So I think if you're Duterte, the best thing you can do is just come back to the country and fight this all the way to the end.
Right? So you think parang mas nakabuti pa to sa kanya, itong nangyari?
Well, for me, honestly, this could go both ways. Depende sinong mas organized.
Pero Richard,
I think ideally better sana yun if before election for the administration, because hindi lalabas na timing ito para lang sa election period, and not to mention the momentum was with admin last year. If you look at the outcome hearings, if you look at yung pabaksak na numbers ni Sara Duterte, the momentum was with the admin last year. Ang problema is January, dahil sa GA issue, budget issue, the momentum actually shifted in favor of the Dutertes, and I will say. And now medyo lutang, it's in the air. So this could go both ways. So kung hindi handa ang administration, kung hindi handa yung mga civil society groups, yung pamilya ng mga biktima, na mag-organize din at magpakita ng support sa ICC, kung hindi handa mga yun, yes, the Dutertes could actually turn this around and make not only Duterte, but their whole team, even their slate. I mean, I can see in the videos right now, you have Philip Salvador, you have Vic Rodriguez. These are the senatorial slate of Digong. These are people who are actually very struggling in the surveys, and they would love to have any kind of boost that gives them a chance in the top 10. And it will be a rallying cry, right? Na itong midterm elections ay hindi na ukol sa elections mismo, hindi ito ukol lang sa referendum sa kasalukuyan na administration. Ito na po ay usapin ng survival. Ito po yung usapin ng survival ng Dutertes at depensahan si Digong. So this elections is going to be really kind of a mini war. But President Duterte goes down that road of defying this and coming back.
Richard, I agree with you that you said it works both ways. But don't you think the first scenario is it works both ways, but you have to remember also the elections is a few months away, and the first, if they do detain him and he went home, he faced the detractors niya, as promised, hindi siya tumakbo. So on the short term, this brings up his stock value and the value of the Duterte diehard supporters. yung sinasabi mo baka maging irrelevant, that will take a long time of detention before he becomes irrelevant. You have to remember former President Joseph Estrada, nagkaroon ng tumindi ang era of magic for a while until nawalang ng relevance. What is your take on
If
that?
he was abroad, he would be relevant, I would say. Like I think if he stayed abroad in exile for like a long time, and then I don't know, somewhere in China, which is not very popular in the Philippines, something along those lines, that could hit him. That could hit him. I think it's very important for Duterte to be here, to be with his family, to defy this. So, yung kay Erap kasi nandito siya sa Pilipinas, and there was no concern of him being a tuta of China or
That's
anything like that, right? That's a narrative that's going to be used against Duterte. So I see the vulnerability quite different. And as we say, it's not like Duterte lang ang humaharap ng kaso, hindi lang sa ICC, right? May
Yes,
mga ibang kaso din laban sa mga kanyang mga kapamilya, right? Sara impeachment. There could be other cases. There could be including EJK cases against Sara Duterte for overseeing tokang operations in Davao. That could come next. What about si Bato, right? Who is one of the principals, supposedly dito sa ICC case. And then what about yung mga ibang kanyang anak? He ran for mayor because he couldn't trust Baste to stand for mayoral office. The Nograles are knocking on the door. So I see what you're saying in terms of Erap, but Erap's situation is different because this is like an existential crisis for his entire family. And I don't think Erap was in an all-out war against Arroyo, ironically, compared to this, right? In the end, Arroyo even gave him reprieve. I mean, and Arroyo was an extremely unpopular president, which made Erap actually look like the anti-hero, if not the hero. Here, the situation is quite different, right? BBM is still a majority president. So, ang inisip ko dito is, gaano ka prepared? I mean, we saw the Manila Times report na 7,000 Philippine police already. You already have someone like General Torre, which handled the Quiboloy situation very smoothly. Obviously, Digong is next level compared to Quiboloy. But we have some sort of precedence. Pero para sa akin, guys, hindi pwede ito, police lang versus, I don't know, civilian supporters of Digong. Much will also depend on civil society. Anong stance ng supposed traditional or genuine opposition? Sasabihin lang ba nila na politika ito? Are they gonna squarely stand with the ICC and say, kailangan natin ng accountability? Considering ito, dumaan ito sa almost isang dekada na ba ito? Ang tagal na ito di ba?
Yes,
Some of the cases being covered here go all the way back even to Davao mayoral days of Duterte, 2011, when we joined the ICC. Potentially the Rome Statute. So, having said that, ang depende rin kasi dito is anong gagawin ng ibang political actors. Hindi lang admin, hindi lang kapulisan, hindi lang sasabihin na Malacanang, paano yung mga biktima ng mga pamilya, paano yung mga genuine opposition, si Bam Aquino ba, si Kiko ba, ano bang sasabihin nila dito, what about the other independent leaning candidates? And for me, guys, if the administration effectively executes this, meaning they arrest Duterte and smoothly taking him out of country, that would be a warning shot also to the Senate. Na ayus-ayusin nyo dyan sa because we are willing to go all the way nowadays. But then again, I mean, in the meantime, there could be a lot of pusit games, right? They could take this to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court's ruling was quite clear on the residual jurisdiction. So they might try some delaying tactics here and there. But yeah, the moment of truth is here. Dami nagsabi na fake news daw kami nung sabi namin magkakaroon ng ICC warrant of arrest. We were off by a few months, and the reason why is because nagde-negotiate ng both sides.
Yeah, Richard, you meant
the delay because nagde-negotiate tayo eh.
You mentioned something interesting. You mentioned two things, impeachment and you mentioned the word warning shot from the administration. Ngayon, medyo magulo ang stance ng admin sa impeachment. But ano magiging impact nito pag-arrest kay former President Duterte sa impeachment case ni VP Sara, knowing that this is a political exercise and the senators or senators to be are banking also on the southern vote?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the ICC case is not purely political because it's based on, examination of all of the available evidence.
But impacts impeachment.
But the implication is absolutely political in a sense that, I mean, let's not forget, just 2 years ago, sabi ni BBM, di ba, they will never recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC. Nung isang araw, nung isang taon, sabi ng DOJ secretary na papaalisin nila yung mga investigators ng ICC. And then umambot sila. And then the next thing you know, they're willing to fully cooperate, right? So, gagamitin din ng mga Duterte yan to say, oh, see, political
Yun,
lang
oh.
yan. Bakit dati ganyan. But nevertheless, the message to the other senators, including the senators who are running under the admin slate,
Yeah.
could be this, na the decision has come from the top, handa na si BBM to go all in. Because the reality is that Marcos Jr. has been conflict avoidant and has been trying to avoid this kind of showdown situation for quite some time. But I think eventually BBM at some point understood there's no way but forward, and part of that is talagang magkakabanggaan na sila when the irresistible meets the, you know, di ba, the unstoppable, kumbaga. It's an inevitable
That's
clash
right,
that
that's
is going to
right.
come.
I agree.
So you rather have it on your terms because ICC is an international warrant. Of course, BBM also has to look at the international environment kasi kaaway ng ICC ngayon ng US.
Yes.
So at the very least, you want the US not saying anything against this or to be just silent about it because it will matter if
Right.
other major ambassadors of different countries also at least generically support this, that we support the decision of the Philippines to cooperate on questions of accountability. So may international diplomatic game. But to be honest, for me, depende rin ito dun sa gagawin ng mga iba't ibang grupo eh. Kasi for sure, magmo-mobilize ng mga pro-Duterte
Yeah.
supporters. Whether it's the religious groups, whether it's the Kibaloy groups, whether it's the DDS group or whoever, they're gonna try to mobilize, they're gonna try to intimidate the government, and who knows, maybe even create chaos.
Yeah.
Talaga din yung ibang grupo, organized din sila, and they'll have a show of force because hindi ito usapin ng politika supposedly. Sana hindi tayo dumating sa ganitong situation kung cooperative yung Philippine government, or more importantly, ginawa ng Philippine government yung trabaho niya, which is not to only investigate the Kian de los Santos and 2 or 3 other cases, but to investigate thousands, if not tens of thousands, of extrajudicial killings and non-laban cases.
Yes, Richard, my question, last Angel, before I go to you now, the question now is, now that you said he's already crossed that line, si PBBM, na he's already out of the image na conflict avoidant siya, do you see now his administration shifting into another era, just like what we had with former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo? She was always on her toes because she was combative against her opponents. And she was wary of several factions sa military. Is PBBM going to face the same scenario knowing that nakikita na ngayon ng mga Duterte allies and the other allies, he arrested former President Duterte, hindi niya pinaglaban. So is this a shift now in the banggaan ng Duterte and Marcos? Will this intensify?
Well, I'm willing to see more parallels between Erap and Digong in terms of yung populist silang pareho at may base sila than to see between Arroyo and BBM because first of all, Arroyo, yung kanyang victory to begin with was questionable, right? The whole Hello Garcia situation because she was the most unpopular president. She had net negative approval ratings. So Arroyo is, I think, an exceptional case because she was always vulnerable to counter mobilization, whether it's EDSA Tres, whether it's also yung pagpapanalo ng opposition sa midterm elections in 2007. So I'm not very sure if Arroyo is a very good parallel here, considering BBM is still a majority supportive president, and BBM had more than 2 years to make sure walang gulo sa loob ng sandataan lakas ng Pilipinas, diba? Remember the reshuffling he did just months into office. Remember that General Bronner has been kept as the AFP chief. There's a reason for that. You want trusted people in charge of AFP. For foreseeable future, the Secretary of Defense. If you look at all major figures in the country, President BBM has made sure that their loyalty check is in the right place. No, so I think inayos nila yung mga basics na yan. But will there be some sort of konting gulo here and there? Magkakaroon ba ng mga usapin sedition, usapin gano'n? Of course. I mean, this has been going on for quite some time. And to be honest, I think the Dutertes have not shied away from being destabilizers. So I don't see a coup d'etat happening, something serious happening. I don't see. But will there be attempts to push for a coup d'etat or sedition? Absolutely. I think it could go with peace rallies among others. Kaya sabi ko, ang mahalaga din dito, handa na ba si BBM? Because it looks like BBM has rolled the dice, right?
That's right.
He has crossed the Rubicon, di ba?
Okay.
He has crossed the Rubicon. This is going to be his most consequential decision as a president. I've been saying this for years. And that decision has finally been made. Now, are you ready for the war to come?
Yeah, well, Richard, I'd like you to listen to this. We have a statement from Attorney Sal Panelo, and maybe we could also get your comment on this statement. The statement is, it's an unlawful arrest. The PNP did not allow one of his lawyers to meet him at the airport and to question the legal basis for PRRD's arrest. He was deprived of legal representation at the time of his arrest. The PNP could not have a hard copy if the warrant of arrest. By not allowing one of his lawyers to meet him, the arresting could avoid being asked if they have the hard copy of the warrant of arrest. It is an illegal arrest because the ICC arrest warrant comes from a spurious source, the ICC, which has no jurisdiction over the Philippines. The government action will make the arresting team as well as the public officials, public officials ordered in the arrest criminally liable. Oh, the first shot has been taken by Attorney Sal Panelo.
I see you're smiling there.
Yeah, Richard.
You are smiling.
Mahilig talaga sa hard copy ito si ano, di ba? Naalala mo yung sabi nila na wala daw nila yung hard copy nung yung amnesty ni Trillanes and next thing
Richard.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
criminally
I'm sorry,
liable
like,
daw.
I'm not sure. I mean, this is Sal Panelo. I'm not sure anyone could take him seriously nowadays with the kind of statements he's making. Obviously, they'll make all sorts of noise. They'll go into whatever technicalities and all. Let's be clear. The Supreme Court has already ruled on the at least residual jurisdiction of the ICC. We're absolutely clear about that. This ruling goes for years. We're absolutely also clear about the ICC has sent investigators here, has been looking at the evidence year after year after year. We're looking at thousands of different cases. We're looking at different communications. We're looking at Las Cañas. We're looking at Matobato. Insiders, people who are at the heart of these operations, the people who have been risking their lives to expose this. So to be honest, etong mga hard copy, mga palusot ni Panelo, I'm not really sure. So this is where I really wish someone like Harry Roque was back home, because I think Harry Roque was a far more formidable spokesman, and I would probably say even a legal counsel for president. But I think the legal
on the
counsel
side, do you think
is
meron
someone
silang
else. I don't know if it's
misunderstanding?
Fortune or someone else. Sorry, that's Sara Duterte pala. Let's see if he gets a better legal counsel at some point.
Parang, do you think ba may parang misunderstanding
oo.
it or may conflict si Harry Roque at saka si Attorney Sal Panelo? Parang kasi there's this statement from him.
Oo,
sabi niya,
napaparinigan.
who's Harry Roque? What happened there?
That's my point. That's my point. I mean, sila na nga lang, hindi sila believe sa isa't isa. So, you want me to take them seriously from the outside, right?
Well,
no, obviously, there's a rivalry going on between the two of them. And obviously, Panelo has been having his moment since Harry Roque was out of town. But, in fairness, I'll take Panelo's side on this because just yesterday, right? Nag-statement si Harry Roque, I don't know from where, sabi niya, the warrant of arrest ay hindi walang kinalaman sa ICC. May kinalaman lang ito dun sa case ni General Torre, dun sa grave threats ni Digong, di ba? Dun sa yung senador na gano'n. So, walang credibility.
Well, I guess that's why...
So, yeah.
Siguro ito yung nila dahilan kasi ang magiging officially si former Labor Secretary Sylvester Bello III ang magiging legal counsel ni ex-President Rodrigo Duterte because of those two.
Which is a good vote of non-confidence by Duterte in either of his spokesmen and all. I mean, I'm just sure he can do better than both Panelo and Harry Roque.
Pero ito, Richard, si Hanilet Avincenia was with the former President Rodrigo Duterte kanina. We saw leaving out of the tarmac. And right now, I think she gave an interview and she said, quoted, sobra pa sa martial law ito, walang allowed na lumapit, walang right to legal assistance, illegal detention na ito. So they're leaning towards the martial law narrative. Your thoughts on that?
It's very important what the other groups do, right? Because if this indeed we're facing a martial law situation, the first people you expect to come out are people like Bam Aquino, right? Or the Aquinos, right? Or people like Kiko Pangilinan, or people from the liberal opposition, Leni Robredo, Risa Ontiveros. These are people who stood up to Duterte-era authoritarian tendencies. These are people who have a pedigree, or at least their families have a pedigree in fighting against martial law, in the case of Bam Aquino, and more directly in the case of Riza Ontiveros, or in the case of Kiko Pangilinan, among other things, mga student activists yan back in the day. So when it comes to questions of who is a dictator or not, or whether BBM is moving in that direction, to be honest, I'm not sure that Duterte Kahama has the ultimate moral ascendancy or credibility on this. But It matters if the other opposition groups say something about this. So whether they don't say anything about this or they say something about this in favor of the arrest or not, I think that's something that we have to watch out. Again, I know that a part of you will say, wait, may silba pa bang opposition? Meron pa ba silang ano? Well, guess what? International media doesn't look at statements of Panelo as an authority. They don't look at the statement of, I don't know, Hanilet or whatever. They look at what the civil society in the Philippines says, what we do in the media, what the academic experts and opposition, genuine opposition and progressives say. So I'm looking for what Franz Castro, for instance, will be saying.
Or
Rizal
Akbayan
Tibercio,
actually
for instance, will be
has
saying.
already released their statement and sabi niya through Percy Sandanya, time's up. Day of reckoning has come. You ask for it, now here it is. Yan yung pinaka-summary nung kanilang sinabi ng Akbayan. But hold your thoughts. We have a lot of questions pa for you, Richard. But right now, we are getting
Live updates from Camille Samonte.
From who? Camille Samonte,
yeah.
TV5 correspondent.
Yes, Camille, go ahead.
Camille.
Hi Angela, Diego, dito pa nga tayo sa NAIA Terminal 3 kung saan inabangan nga natin yung pagdating ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte at ngayong nga kinumpirma na ng Malacanang na natanggap na ng Interpol Manila yung official na kopya ng warrant of arrest mula sa International Criminal Court o ICC. Pagdating nga dito ni Duterte sa NAIA Terminal 3, mismong Prosecutor General ang naghain nitong ICC notification para sa isang arrest warrant laban sa dating Pangulo. Kaugnay pa rin ito sa investigasyon na ginagawa ng ICC sa umano'y crimes against humanity sa war on drugs ng kanyang administrasyon. Sabi ng Malacanang sa kanilang pahayag, nasa mabuting kalusugan at maayos ang kalagayan ng dating Pangulo at sinuri siya mismo ng mga doktor ng gobyerno. Katuwang ng Interpol dito ang PNP sa pag-serve ng warrant at tiniyak ng gobyerno na may mga suot nga na body camera. Pero Angela, Diego, sa mga oras na ito, hindi pa rin nga malinaw kung saan dinala ang dating Pangulo. Kanina nandirito sina Senator Bongo at Attorney Delgra at inaalmahan nga nila itong pag-aresto dahil concern nila yung kalusugan ng dating Pangulo. Gusto sana nilang dalhin nga muna sa ospital at gusto rin nilang makita yung actual copy nitong sinasabi nga na arrest warrant, pero sinasabi nila na mukhang may mga hindi nasunod dito, unconstitutional to dahil kung i-consider nga yung itong kalusugan ng dating Pangulo dahil magi 8 years old na raw siya, ay dapat ay kinonsider nga muna na madala sa ospital. Pero yun nga ang inaabangan natin ngayon dito, may ilang opisyal pa from Department of Justice na hinihintay natin dito na hopefully makausap natin at malaman ano na nga ba ang mga susunod na hakbang, ano nga ba yung mga, saan ba talaga yung magiging kustodiya ng dating Pangulo.
Yeah, Camille, you mentioned ang nag-serve ng warrant is the Prosecutor General ng ICC because supposedly ang stance ng marami is, wala na tayo sa ICC, so supposedly dapat ang mag-serve physically ay from Interpol.
No, Diego, ang Prosecutor General natin mismo dito sa
okay.
Department of Justice, siya ang naghain.
Okay.
So this is in coordination with the Interpol and PNP para lang serve nga yung warrant. Pero yung mismong nagbasa ng papel para basahin kung ano yung nilalaman nung arrest warrant, ang Prosecutor General natin ang nagbasa nun at naghain mismo
Thanks for
sa dating
clearing that.
Pangulo.
Yes. Yung mga sinasabi na katulad na lang ni Senator Bongo na hindi sila pinayagan, meron silang pass, pero later on binawi kasi ang kanyang concern ay yung kalusugan daw ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. What else happened there, Camille?
Naku, alam mo Angela, napakahigpit talaga ng seguridad dito bago pa dumating yung mga media hanggang sa mga huling minuto na nakaalis na sila Senator Bongo. Actually, nung lumapit na sa amin si Senator Bongo, saka lang namin nalaman na nakakasama na pala ng dating Pangulo yung mga ilang opisyal nga ng PNP. Kaya blanco rin sila kung saan nga dinala pero sinasabi naman ni Senator Bongo may mga kasama ring abogado doon si Duterte kung saan nga isinakay siya sa coaster, pero kanina nakita natin may mga convoy ng police at ambulansya ng PNP, so malamang baka doon nga siya sinakay pero we have no confirmation yet kung saan na nga ba siya.
Camille, any word yet or news about VP Sara and si Senator Bato? Kasi VP Sara was supposed to have been with her dad sa Hong Kong. Dapat, were they supposed to arrive together?
Yes, ito ang sinasabi naman ni Senator Bongo, na una siyang umuwi dito, wala nung nitong weekend galing sa Hong Kong dahil overnight lang siya. Si Vice President Sara Duterte naman, ang OVP kahapon nagsabi na this week siya uuwi, pero wala pa rin konfirmasyon nga kung nauna ba siya bago ng kanyang tatay o susunod o ngayong araw din. So wala pa tayong confirmation kung anong nangyari. But Senator Bato de la Rosa, it's interesting lang din no na if you will recall, si Senator Bato de la Rosa ay kasama doon sa mga pangalan na lumitaw
Yes, oo.
na iniimbisagahan din ng ICC. But we don't hear anything from him
Yun
yet
nga eh, oo.
at this moment.
Correct.
Hindi rin natin natanong yan kay Senator Bongo kung nagkausap ba sila ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. But if you will recall nga, isa si Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa doon sa mga kinukonsiderang suspect at iniimbisagahan nga ng ICC dahil siya ang dating PNP chief at main implementer nga nitong war on drugs.
Alright, we will continue to get in touch with you regarding these developments. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Camille Samonte, ang ating News 5 correspondent live sa NAIA. Okay, yun Richard.
Richard, missing si
Oo,
Senator Bato.
surprisingly. Oo.
So what? Is he preparing for an arrest? Nagtatago? Or is nag-iisip ng statement? What's happening, Richard?
Actually,
MIA
isang
siya.
dahilan nagkwenta ka pa. I was watching all of these Bato de la Rosa videos, including yung isa nagwala-wala siya. Sabi niya, si Trillanes mismo dapat ang mag-serve sa kanya ng warrant of arrest kasi pigon na pigon siya because former Senator Trillanes has been saying this forever, right? Na the warrant of arrest is coming and it's coming. Actually, the Bato case was interesting because we were thinking, what if Duterte stays in exile, right, abroad, and then Bato is exposed here in the middle of elections? And then don't forget that in a different channel, right, sinabi ni Bato na he's not ruling out yung ginawa ni dating senador and re-election is now si Senator Lacson. If you remember, there was a time na si Senator Lacson actually hopscotched, right?
Yes.
He got out of the country. He went into stealth mode and later on eventually came back with political vengeance, right? So you know, the big question also to us was what will Bato do? Whether the warrants of arrest will extend to him and what is he going to do about it? Again, as I said, if Digong's branding is matapang siya, palaban siya, and therefore dapat babalik siya, ang branding ni Bato naman is loyal soldier.
Yeah.
And as a loyal soldier, he has to stick around and stick side by side with President Duterte, whether he's on the list or not.
But where is he right now?
Masira yung branding niya. Otherwise, masisira yung base niya.
Correct, I
He's already
agree.
not doing very well in the surveys.
But Richard, you have to remember, lumalambot ang stance ni Senator Bato on the West Philippine Sea. So,
But sabi niya, magpakamatay siya dahil sa West Philippines. I mean, I don't want to go into the Bato School of Drama and Arts, right? But my point is, as far as Senator Bato de la Rosa is concerned, his number one branch stick is, I'm the loyal soldier of President Duterte. So if the stance of the whole team is that Duterte is a victim of witch hunt, na this is political persecution, this is dictatorship, Bato has to show up and has to show up all in for President Duterte. Otherwise, his own political future could be completely jeopardized and baka iwanan siya ng mga support base niya. And we see he's already struggling in the numbers. Now, obviously, if you are anyone who could face lifetime imprisonment in some not so good food place in like Netherlands, I mean, no offense there. I mean, it's cold. Something's very cold and the food is not as good as in the Philippines. Maybe you wanna, I don't know, escape or something. But I think it's political suicide for Bato. And it would have been also for Duterte if they tried to just go into exile.
Sige. Richard, we will also check in with our mobile journal right now, Marymon Reyes. She is actually in Villamor Air Base, if I'm not mistaken. Marymon?
Yes, Angelo, dito tayo ngayon sa Villamor Air Base kung saan nandito ngayon yung kustodiya ni Pangulong former Rodrigo Duterte. At itong tumatayo din na legal counsel niya na si Attorney Silvestre Bello, ilan sa pinakatitignan nila ngayon ay yung pagre-request ng hospital detention kung sakali nga na madedetain itong si Pangulong Duterte. Nasabi rin kanina ni Philip Salvador na nandito sa labas kanina pang nag-aabang na makapasok. Isang araw pa lang daw meron na raw back pain na dinadama o iniinda itong si Duterte sa Hong Kong. Kaya isa sa pinaka-inaabangan nila ngayon yung pagkakataon na makapasok. Pero even si Senator Bongo na kanina ay nandito rito sa gate ay nag-aabang pa rin dahil hindi pa rin sila makapasok. At may bitbit ng pagkain itong si Bongo na sinasabi nga ni-request daw ng anak ni Duterte na si Kitty Duterte. Pero nung tinawagan niya itong si Kitty, ay inaasahan natin posibleng siya ang lalabas dito dahil yung ultimo itong si Senator Bongo ay hindi pinapapasok sa
Andiyan
loob.
pa ba si Senator Bongo or si Philip Salvador? Baka pwede natin mahatak at makausap? Andiyan pa ba?
Subukin natin si Philip Salvador ay umalis na kanina natin siya nakita niya rin. Alam kong iikot pa siya pero ngayon kasi yung isa sa inaabangan natin dito ay yung pagpasok din even nila sila Silvestre Bello.
Chap, meron mo, ayan.
Pero mukhang wala na dito ngayon sa ating kinatatayuan itong Senator Bongo. Pero kanina kasi huli natin nasilip nandito siya mismo nag-aabang sa pinto kasama nga nitong physician ni Pangulong Duterte para nga raw sana mabigyan ng medical check-up itong si ang dating Pangulo. At kung sakali nga daw, meron daw kasing regular check-up na ginagawa itong si Duterte. Kaya posible kung sakaling mabibigyan daw ng pagkakataon, dadalhin daw sa Cardinal Santos Medical Center itong dating Pangulo.
Marimon, were you able to see former President Rodrigo Duterte arriving there earlier?
Sorry?
Were you able to see former President Rodrigo Duterte arriving there earlier sa Villamor Air Base? Nakita mo ba siya?
Kasabi ng Malacanang meron, nasaan?
Yes,
Oo,
ma'am.
mula sa NAIA nakita natin ay dinala nga agad at sinalubong ng PNP itong si Pangulong Duterte at idiniretso nga dito sa Villamor Air Base. At ine-expect din natin, base rin sa mga nasabi ni Attorney Israelito Torion, dadalhin naman sunod sa Camp Crame itong si Pangulong Duterte. Pero for now, sigurado raw na nandito sa loob ng Villamor Air Base ang dating Pangulo, pero nahihirapan, ultimo tayong media na makapasok sa loob sina Senator Bongo, sila Attorney Silvestre Bello, sila Philip Salvador.
Very quickly lang, yung mga nandiyan dyan, sige, go ahead.
No, I'd like to ask lang, sorry, Angel. No? I'd like to ask, bakit sa Villamor dinala si former President Duterte? Is he going to be transported in the next few days sa Hague? Or pupunta muna ng Davao? Kasi you only detain sa Villamor pag may immediate transport afterward
Oo, yun nga, isa pinaka-inaabangan natin ngayon. Kung dito ba, kung papunta ba sa Camp Crame, yung sunod na paroroonan ng dating Pangulo o meron pang ibang liliparan dahil nandito sa Villamor Air Base. Pero since hindi pa natin nakakausap at base din sa sinabi nila Senator Bongo na hindi pa raw nila nakakausap sina Attorney Medialdea sa loob, hindi pa raw nila makumpirma kung ano ba yung sunod na legal na hakbangin nila. Pero isa sa pinaka-sinasabi nila ngayon, gusto raw nila na mabigyan muna ng medical attention itong dating Pangulo dahil doon sa mga dinarama niya at given din daw yung kanyang edad.
Alright, sige. Maraming salamat sa iyo. Ang ating mobile journo, si Marimon Reyes, live na nag-uulat mula sa Villamor Air Base kung saan doon po ngayon currently nakadetain si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte via his arrest warrants done by the Prosecutor General, no? Along with the Interpol.
CIDG and Interpol.
Yes. So right now, also we want to check in. Meron pa ba na iba pang live report? Si Gerard. Okay. We go
Richard.
back to Richard.
Richard, I heard you yung report, no? He was detained sa Villamor, but ang precedence kasi nito, pag dinadala ang isang high-profile figure sa Villamor, kasi may sunod na transport na mangyayari. Do you see him going to The Hague immediately, or will they risk taking him to Davao, knowing that that's his hometown?
Yeah, yun yung labanan ngayon. Kaya you can see the sense of urgency by his people to make this look as if kinakawawa si Digong, na God forbid something could happen in terms of his health condition. Suddenly, the same guy who was so, energetic and dynamic the other day lang in Hong Kong, now suddenly, he's an elderly guy that you have to take care of, otherwise kawawa siya. So the reason is because ayaw nila mangyari yung what would have been ideal for the government, which is there's a warrant of arrest from ICC. Wala kaming kinalaman dyan, we're just gonna hand him over to the Interpol and the relevant authorities, and then bahala na kayo sa Hague. Doon na tayo magdebate, right? Because if you're the Philippine government now, the best case scenario for you is to wash off your hands and say you're just executing an international warrant of arrest per our international obligation. If your country is saying na kailangan natin ng international rules-based order pagdating sa West Philippine Sea, if your country is saying that we're a democratic nation and we follow international law, then basically your argument will also be we cannot resist an Interpol and look like a rogue state. So sorry na lang kay Digong, we're just gonna hand you over. Let's not forget, if ever this happens, he's gonna go to The Hague, Netherlands, which is one of the most developed countries with the best healthcare facilities, among other things. And The Hague and the ICC are used to hosting not only world leaders or ex-world leaders, but also very elderly ones, including some of them who have been there throughout the years, right? From Serbia to Africa. So I'm not sure, the argument will fly that it's not like we're going to send him to some fourth world country, right? The ICC is in the heart of Europe, in one of the most developed places. So if it's about his health conditions and all, for sure, Interpol and ICC, all of them have every reason to make sure President Duterte is fully taken care of so that he can face his court based on the allegations against him.
So you've seen videos ni Senator Bongo, and he's been speaking out a lot. Now, who takes over the reins from, of course, Duterte, former President Rodrigo Duterte is the heart and soul of the Duterte brand, or yung from the southern area. Now, if he is arrested and detained and he's in another country, who takes the reins? Is it Senator Bongo, who has one of the highest numbers as a senatoriable, or is it VP Sara? Sino? Kasi VP Sara has been distancing herself from endorsing any candidates.
Yeah, remember, there's a reason why Sara did not run for the president, right? And the reason she didn't run for the president, at least publicly, she made this partially clear, is because mukhang si Digong wanted Bongo to be his successor. And I don't think we need to be experts in the family affair, and drama, but I think may hidwaan talaga dyan, diba? I think this is an open secret. So the question right now is that, will Bongo step up and try to capture that mantle, which could actually boomerang on his numbers? He's doing very well. He's number 2, he's number 3. And some would say he's precisely because he's number 2 and 3 is because he has been very above the fray, right? I mean, Senator Bongo has not been making many very controversial statements. But now, obviously, his chief principal, the person who is responsible for putting him there. I mean, who was Bongo before Duterte, right? Tawag nga sa kanya dati, photobomber lang, di ba?
Yeah.
Now he has to show his loyalty. And I don't think Senator Bongo can afford to come off as if he's not loyal enough to his former principal. And remember, last year, si Sebastian Sebaste, mayor of Davao, medyo nagparinig siya kay Senator Bongo, hey, you wanna maybe, say more a little bit, right? On issues concerning our family. So it is possible. I mean, maybe behind the scenes, nagkaroon ng usapan na, hey, family is family, meaning Sara Duterte as the vice president, the most senior official as far as the family is concerned. The ate should come up, but I won't be surprised that you could have a situation whereby Bongo position himself as the chief successor, as someone who's the effective, the heir apparent or something like that. Considering he's also doing well in the surveys, he has this global profile, he has a lot of support, and Sara Duterte runs essentially parallel position. And of course, Bongo could also say, well, Sara is facing her own cases, Bato is facing his own cases, Digong is now potentially going to be taken to The Hague. Ako lang yung walang kaso so far, so maybe I should take up the mantle, right? So, in short, what we can say for sure is there is an historic opportunity for Bato to finally step up and take up the mantle of leadership of his party, PDP Laban, and essentially the Duterte brand in ways he has not been able to, precisely due to the reasons we explained a while ago.
Pero recently there was an interview of Senator Bato de la Rosa, and he was asked kung bakit mas mataas si Senator Bongo sa survey as compared to him. At sinabi niya ay si Senator Bongo kasi siguro mas softer yung yung ginagawa niya for Rodrigo Duterte. And pinapalabas niya na siya mas loyal siya kay Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. But also I want to ask you, before we let you go, Richard, how significant is this case right now in terms of magiging president siya, 'di ba? Na this is the first time that this has happened to the Philippines.
Well, this is not the first Asian to face this ICC warrant of arrest. Nauna yung Taliban, right? Taliban leaders got it because that was the big thing, right? Will he be the first Asian ever? And as we know, the Myanmar, the Burmese junta chief could be also next in line. I mean, for me, if you're ICC, this is the best case scenario because ICC has been having a hard time, right? They issued warrants of arrest against Putin. Well, good luck with getting that executed, because Putin has also been visiting many countries that are ICC members, including Mongolia, for instance,
Okay.
right? And nothing happened there. And then you
Alright.
had the case of Netanyahu, right? And the Israeli defense minister. Well, good luck with that. The U.S. is going to protect Israel, and Israel is a powerful country that can protect itself.
Alright.
And then Taliban, who are these people? They're in cave. Saan mo sila kukunin? So baka, eto
Okay.
na yung eto na yung golden goal.
Alright.
Ng ICC. So it's
Sige.
really big deal for ICC to
Alright.
make sure the Philippine government hands him over immediately so that finally they get one high-profile figure
Okay.
within their jurisdiction. Because
Alright.
they have failed to do that in multiple cases, as I mentioned, over the past year
We
or
don't
two.
have much time, Richard. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your insights. Meanwhile, we would like to announce lang din also yung sinabi ni former Labor Chief Sylvester Bello III. He actually questions former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest, citing lack of a shown warrant and no
Yeah.
confirmed Interpol presence. He adds that no one has seen or spoken to Duterte, and allies are barred from Villamor Air Base. Yun po ang nangyayari
Yes, that-
ngayon sa kampo ng Duterte side.
Yeah, before we go, the statement just came from kasi when they arrested him. All right. Anyway, we will continue to cover this developing story. We will give way to One Balita Pilipinas with Cheryl Cosim for their coverage. Stay here on One News for more details.
I'm Angela Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.